We stand on the threshold of a great new age of exploration. Its ultimate destination, the furthest reaches of the universe.
3, 2, 1.
Can I get everybody's attention? Welcome to RTP180. Thank you. I was waiting for the applause, right? My name is Kenya Thompson. I am your host for this evening. I've had the pleasure to come back time after time and listen to these conversations. We have talked about dwellings, we've talked about allergens and allergies, we talked about music, and I won't spoil what we're talking about tonight, but I think most of you already know. Before we dive in, I do want to give a quick thank you to our sponsor, RTI International. Yes. If you've never been to one of our talks before, it's a simple format. We have five speakers, 5 different focus areas on the topic, right? 5 minutes for them to talk, and then another 5 minutes for questions, okay? If you do enjoy tonight, and I know you will enjoy tonight, you can see past talks on our YouTube channel if you just follow @RTP on YouTube. And that way, you can even scan this QR code, takes you right there, it'll be real easy. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about energy. I met somebody in the room named Sunshine earlier today. There she is. I was like, she knows all about the energy, right? So energy touches all of us, all around us, all the time, whether we're talking about how communities grow, how businesses innovate, how we get around, or how we prepare for the future, energy is where it's at. Again, you're going to hear 5 different perspectives tonight on the opportunities that are challenging and shaping North Carolina's energy landscape. When you came into the lobby here, you probably saw some of that in action. We had the ALPS model from RTI International demonstrating their power simulator. Then we had Spotlight Solar, a Frontier RTP tenant, making solar options visible through aesthetic solar shelters. And we had the Museum of Life and Science with a hands-on circuit building activity. So hopefully you had time to have fun with that. And then we had Carolina Climate, building a climate tech community for entrepreneurs here in the Triangle and across North Carolina. So tonight really is all about the full ecosystem of our energy, from innovation and technology to implementation and sustainability. All right, so for our first speaker. So our first speaker works at the intersection of sustainability, clean energy, and community resilience. Jessica Reid is a senior sustainability strategist with the City of Raleigh, where she leads clean energy and community resilience initiatives. She is also the author of Planet Now, Effective Strategies for Communicating About the Environment, and for those Tar Heel fans out there, a double Tar Heel with degrees in strategic communication and environmental studies from UNC Chapel Hill. Please welcome Jessica.
Hi everyone, my name's Jessica, and it's so great to be here today to tell you about climate action in Raleigh. Cassandra, as far as, there we go. Thank you. And really, many of you probably know that Raleigh is one of the most quickly growing cities in the country. And with rapid growth comes a lot of great opportunities, but also great challenges, including increasing energy demand and increasing energy costs. What I want to emphasize today is that Raleigh is turning ambitious climate goals into projects and programs that improve people's everyday lives. We have a community climate action plan that was passed in 2021, and One of the goals is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions 80% by 2050. But it's not just about emissions reductions. It's also about addressing social, community, and health impacts, as well as building community resilience to the impacts of climate change. We have 3 different strategy areas: buildings and energy, transportation and land use, and resilience. I'm going to focus on the first one today. To start, Solarize the Triangle is a regional program made up of 12 different local governments, including Raleigh, that we launched a few years ago. It's been award-winning and nationally record-breaking. Essentially what it is the more residents and businesses who purchase solar, the more it brought the cost down for everyone, helping to increase access to solar and the benefits that come with it, including lower energy bills. Now, we're building on that success with a new program called Electrify the Triangle. And I'm actually here to give you a sneak peek today because we're planning to launch it later this year. It's going to go beyond solar by increasing education about and access to even more residential sustainability technologies, including electric and energy efficient appliances, heat pumps, battery storage, EV charging, and electric lawn equipment. These are technologies that are not just more sustainable, but they also improve people's quality of life, help people save money on energy bills, and help to improve indoor air pollution. The city uses a program called System Vision through Advanced Energy to certify affordable housing projects as being energy efficient. And this not only is good for the environment, but it also includes guarantees for low energy bills for residents for at least 2 years, supports aging in place, and it even trains contractors, which helps them do more energy efficiency projects in the community. Another project I want to share is our popular electric tool share. This program allows Raleigh residents to rent out electric lawn equipment for free, and it helps people see the benefits, not just for the environment, but it's even quieter and it smells better. It's currently booked out through September. This past year, we joined a program called CPACE, which allows commercial businesses to access special financing for qualifying renewable energy, energy efficiency, water conservation, and resilience upgrades. And I want to encourage you to check out our Sustainable Business Toolkit and our Sustainable Neighborhoods Toolkit. These are resources that help businesses and residents learn more how to be sustainable, save energy, save money, and get recognized for their efforts. Oops. Clicker's given some trouble here. All right, now in the city, we are walking the talk. We have a growing portfolio of renewable energy, and that includes a lot of solar, including the historic Dix Park Chapel that we put solar on last year, as well as more than 290 geothermal wells. And I'm currently leading a citywide solar and battery storage strategy to help us identify where we can invest in strategic clean energy improvements in city facilities over time. Plus, we have more than 1 million square feet of high performance and LEED buildings in the city. This includes our LEED Silver, our new Fire Station 3, which is LEED Silver certified. Something I'm so excited to talk about today is our bioenergy recovery project. The city is turning wastewater into renewable natural gas that powers about 70 Go Raleigh buses. And in case it's not obvious what it means that what's getting flushed down the toilet is literally what's making these buses go. This took about 15 years of a lot of innovation, collaboration, and partnership to be able to make it a reality. And I was so glad to get to go to the ribbon cutting last fall. Now, I want to encourage you to check out our annual Community Climate Action Plan implementation report, where you can learn about hundreds of more climate action updates and think about how you can get involved. I know I'm preaching to the choir today, so it's probably about how you can get more involved. And I want to say a big thank you again to everybody for having me here today, and thanks to all the community members and partners who helped make this all possible.
All right, thank you, Jessica. That was really interesting. As a longtime resident of Raleigh, formerly, there was a lot of good things in there that I think might be really great for the city. As we ask for audience questions, go ahead and raise your hands. If you have a question, a mic will come to you. I'm going to start things off with a question myself. How does climate change get wrapped into broader conversations about Raleigh's growth?
Climate change gets wrapped into pretty much every conversation about Raleigh's growth because it affects everything that we do. So we are working on creating our 2050 long-range comprehensive plan, and climate change has been a big part of the community conversations that we've been having to inform that plan. We've had events on topics like affordable housing, community change, infrastructure, trees, transportation. All of these are related to sustainability and climate change. We have a strategic plan, a 5-year plan that also has lots of different climate-related topics, including how we can cool the city's hottest areas, prepare for flooding, implement composting, etc. We also have integrated climate action into the city's budgeting process and scoring system, and even into pretty much every department's plans, like our EV transition strategy, our stormwater plans, etc., to be able to think about where we have to be able to strategically plan for climate change and integrate climate solutions like clean energy through all of this.
Very good. Any questions in the audience? Raise your hand. There's one here and the one in the back.
Hey, thanks for this. I'm curious, what do you see coming on the horizon that you're super excited about in terms of kind of supporting your mission?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot that's really making me excited right now. I think a big part of it is literally if you look around this room and you see how many people are here, there are lots of people who care about climate change and are taking climate action in their own ways. Like, I believe every job is a climate job, whether you work specifically in the sustainability field or if you work in a different field, but you're bringing a sustainable mindset into it. The more and more that we have these conversations and we educate each other about climate change and get creative, the more that we're able to make a real impact. That's a big thing that I talk about in my book, Planet Now, is waves of change, because when we're in spaces like this, we learn things that then we can continue to share with others, who can share with others, and it has exponential impacts.
Thank you. I think there was one more question in the back, and then there are two over there to the left.
Yeah, hi. How are you sustaining this sustainability infrastructure? I'm just curious to know how you're maintaining it in terms of, making sure the damages or, what is your maintenance strategy of this infrastructure? Are you using any drone technologies for this?
Was it, just to make sure I understand the question correctly, is it about how we're doing sustainable infrastructure in the city?
Maintenance of that.
Maintenance of sustainable infrastructure, yeah. So that's also a really important consideration, because when you're thinking about funding, you can't just fund something once and then look away, right? You have to make sure that you have the plans ongoing. And so the City of Raleigh's Office of Sustainability is very collaborative with every department when we're thinking about opportunities to do upgrades, but also thinking about what that maintenance looks like. How do you do long-term budgeting for it, staffing for it, and how do you prepare for the fact that technology is going to change? Some of your infrastructure could be obsolete, some things need to get replaced, some things could happen unexpectedly, and so we are thinking about all of those things.
I think we have time for one more question. I know there was another hand.
Hey, right here. Very excellent work. I hope you'll be very successful. I'm wondering how you have been impacted by the recent cutbacks from federal funds on programs like greenhouse gas reduction programs and other climate funds. Have you felt any impact at all?
You're asking about data centers?
No,
I'm sorry.
impact in funding, federal funding for greenhouse gas reduction programs.
About how our programs are being affected by funding?
Yes,
Yes,
cutbacks in fundings.
Thank you for that. So we are Fortunately, in the city of Raleigh, we have a lot of different funding sources. So we have both our tax base, but we also take advantage of grants and public-private partnerships. And we, with every city department implementing climate change into their work, we're able to be really strategic and creative with how we make sure that we are we're meeting all of the CCAP goals when we're thinking about the greenhouse gas reduction, the social impact, as well as the resilience to climate change impacts.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is going to take us from local implementation to the technologies helping power the future. So Samir Parvathikar is the Senior Director of Sustainable Energy Solutions at RTI International and Program Director of the RTI Pilot Accelerator, a program for emerging energy and industrial technologies. He leads federal and industry-funded projects focused on energy innovation, including chemicals or chemical production and grid-scale energy storage, helping move promising technologies from the lab to the real-world deployment. Please welcome Dr. Samir Parvathikar.
Well, thank you, Kenya, and thank you, everybody, for being here. When Cassandra and our comms team invited me to talk to you all today, I really wasn't sure why. Look at the star-studded lineup right here. I'm not sure why I'm here. But then I realized what I'm here to do is tell you a story. A story that, more often than not, does not have a great ending. And what we are doing here at RTI International to help make sure that we give these stories the best kind of ending that they can have, right? What we are working on with the RTI Pilot Accelerator is trying to work with energy innovators and helping them translate some of their innovations into deployment-ready solutions. If you look around you, everything you see, everything you touch was somebody's idea. Somebody worked on it, somebody put a lot of sweat equity in it, spent a lot of money probably to turn this into something that you can hold, see, or touch. It took a lot of effort, it takes a lot of effort for ideas to go from conception to implementation. And in the energy sector, it's even more challenging since they are much more expensive, right? And if you have an idea, we typically say there are three questions you need to answer. 1, does it work? 2, does it work outside of a lab in a real world? And 3, if it works, does somebody care? Does somebody want to buy it? And those are the 3 questions that we work on, or we help our clients work on at the RTI Pilot Accelerator. To answer the first 2 questions, what we typically work on is how do we improve the technical readiness of technologies? How do you take your innovations and go from your breadboard, your lab, and put it out into the real world, bench scale and prototyping, piloting, all of that. And then how do you validate some of those answers with commercial readiness and address the market part of it? And we do that in a number of sectors, in the industrials, waste to value, critical minerals, bioprocessing, all of that. And the way we do it is by forming partnerships. Nobody has to go at this alone. It takes a lot, and there are a lot of people out here to help technologies transition. And what we do best is help make those connections and address these challenges. So why now? As we all know, the demand for energy has been higher, is the highest it's ever been. You've heard of AI, it's not just AI, right? Industry, the demand is unprecedented. And it's not just that we need more energy, we also, well, some of us also want it to be decarbonized, right? And so what we need to do is not just do more of things that we have done before, but bring new innovations online and do that at a rapid pace. So if you have an innovation, we know that the path to success is not straightforward. There are a lot of challenges that we typically call the valley of death. So that's what we're working on, helping innovators translate their technologies across that valley of death. We help answer those first two questions of will it work and how are we, will it work in a real life scenario by working on the engineering side of things, analytical support, operations, 24/7 operations, data analytics. And we help answer the questions around the market with market analysis, economics, regulatory strategy, all of those things. And what we want to offer technology developers is a holistic solution. And one of the things I said was a real life setting, right? How do you do that? To help answer those questions, what we have done is established a technology agnostic pilot site right around the corner here. We've been doing technology development for a very long time at RTI, and we've been able to capitalize on what we have learned to expand our facilities. You see some of our drone shots here, just to give you a sense of scale. That tower in the middle is about 45 feet, and it's one of our smaller pilots. This facility and our expansion is near completion, and we have a grand opening coming up in a couple of weeks. Let's give you a little bit of what impact means, right? We have helped a number of startups. I'll give you just one example with Syzygy Plasmonics. It's a startup based in Houston that we brought here into the Triangle. And they had a very cool technology where they were using light to make jet fuel. Had never been done outside of a lab setting ever. We helped them with the engineering, scale up, commissioning, operations, and we ended up making jet fuel for the first time using light. And here is one drop of it. And we did this demonstration back in 2023, 2024, and in 2 years, they were able to announce a first-of-a-kind commercial plant in Uruguay. And time again, we've been able to demonstrate that these sorts of services help innovators go to scale and go to revenue faster than they could have done it by themselves. And that's what we're here to do. We're more than a facility, we are your partners. If you have an idea that you've jotted down on a napkin, please come to us. We'll help you translate that into a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir. That was really interesting. Taking a look at how we can move technologies through that valley of death. Thank you for that. Again, same format. If you have a question, raise your hand. A mic will come to you. I will start off with a question. What is the biggest challenge that you see for energy startups trying to scale today?
Great question. I think today is the important piece of that here. Because if you had asked this question in 2021, things were very different. And I'll touch on just one aspect, which is financing. Back in the 2020, 2021 timeframe, capital was flowing, right? A lot of innovators were getting funding to do their development. But off late, as another gentleman pointed out, policies have changed, money's gotten a lot tighter. But what that also has driven is higher efficiency of how do you get more bang for your buck, right? Your capital has to stretch farther. And so we've been able to capitalize on that in a way and offer our clients and these startups a lot more bang for their buck. don't have to hire as many people anymore. They don't have to build out a facility. And so that's been the biggest challenge. Capital is one of the key challenges, and we're working with a lot of clients to help overcome some of that.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? There's one over there.
Do you have anybody approaching you for fusion or nuclear, small nuclear reaction technology?
We have. Yeah, I don't know how we have, in all honesty, we have. How do you actually go from that idea to making it reality is a challenge, right? I think our EHS will have something to say about that. I haven't broached them yet. But yes, we have been approached, and we're working with a few to understand what parts of their technology we can help de-risk. But yeah, absolutely.
All right, I think we have another question, and then one more in the back.
Hello, thank you so much for this. This has been really fun to listen to. So what are some of the technologies that you are excited about, that you're seeing come through?
Great question. We have one of the cool things about our new expansion is that it's very much flexible, right? We are not married to a certain technology or technology area. We've got we have some of my team members here. They went from making jet fuel last month we'll be doing some lithium extraction in the next couple of months. So it's that diversity. We're seeing a lot of movement around critical minerals. How can we help enable domestic supply chains around critical minerals? So I think I would say some of these new and exciting areas are super interesting for us.
All right, I think maybe we have time for one more question. We have one up here, one in the back. I think the mic is going back there.
Hey, thank you for that talk. My question was, how do you navigate with policies changing every couple years and investing based off that policy and change? How do you navigate to just switch gears so quickly?
Oh, great question. I think what we typically think of is, it's not so much what the policy is, but the lack of consistency is more challenging than the policy itself. Typically in industry, whatever the policy set, we can easily, figure out how to work towards that. But the swings have been quite challenging. And what we have also seen is that a vacuum or a void in a certain area domestically is being occupied by international players, right? So I'll give you a couple of examples. A lot of the startups that we've come through in the last couple of years have been funded by venture capital that are based in Europe and Southeast Asia. So we are seeing a lot more capital, but we've just been able to diversify where some of those resources are coming from.
Thank you so much, Samir. If you do have more questions, he'll be here afterwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Our next speaker focuses on technology that many of us encounter every day, whether we're driving across town or across country. Meredith Biechele is a product development manager at Kempower, where she leads new product development for electric vehicle fast charging solutions in North America. With her background in mechanical engineering and system design, she helps build the technologies that support the growing EV ecosystem. Welcome, Meredith Biechele.
Thank you. Wow. This is the tallest I've ever been in my entire life. We're going to start off with a little activity here today. I want a little audience participation. I'm curious who in the audience has the lowest phone battery percentage. So go ahead and pull out your phones. I do actually want you looking at them. Who has the lowest battery percentage? Go ahead and yell it out. Let's hear some numbers. 26. 8. I heard 8 over here. Can anyone beat 8? 5. I heard 5. Do I have lower than 5? All right, whoever has 5, go ahead and raise your hand. Where's my person who yelled 5? All right, well, Catherine's coming around. She has a portable phone charger just for you. Go ahead, plug in your phone, get a charge, and whenever you need a charge, you can always rely on ChemPower. And what's your name, ma'am? Sorry? What's your name?
My name is Kavita.
Kavita, nice to meet you.
Thank you for the charger gift.
Thank you for having a low battery charge. And I bet what Kavita's thinking about is, when am I going to get to a charger? And is my phone going to last me until I can plug it in? What happens if it dies? And for me in my industry, this is called range anxiety. And range anxiety is what you get when you're an EV driver. And you have the fear that you won't be able to plug in your vehicle before you get to your final destination or an EV charger. But I'm here to tell you that with 2 main factors, we are on our way to eradicating range anxiety. 2 main factors here. 1 is the charge install base that's coming across America. We get more chargers in the ground, more places where people with a low battery can go charge up. And the second is innovations in charging technology. Me and my team, we're on the cutting edge of new technologies and ways to make our chargers faster, more efficient, and better for the general population. So, first of all, we look at the charge install base, right? Right here behind me is a map of EV chargers across America. This is more than just what's in your house. These are out on the road, publicly available, where you're out maybe shopping, maybe you're on a road trip and you need to charge up. And these deployments are strategically placed from the local, state, and even national level along main highway corridors so that people traveling far away from home have a place to refuel. And then secondly, these places are also strategic. They're near where people live, work, and transport. And so a fun fact is that 60% of Americans live within 2 miles of an electric vehicle charger. 2 miles. You drive down the road and you think, oh, sure, I see plenty of gas stations, right? I can refuel all the time. But these EV chargers are out there in your backyard, too. And next is improvements in charging technology. Think about phone chargers. Think about all the variety of phone chargers you have out there, right? USB-C, USB-A, USB-Z, micro USB, mini USB, humongous mega USB, all those different types of chargers, right? Inductive charging or portable phone chargers as well. Well, we have similar technological advancements in the EV charging space too. There's a little company down the road that I'm a particular fan of. I don't know why, but they're on the cutting edge, right? Creating a variety of these electric vehicle chargers for different applications, whether that is for your passenger vehicle or maybe large buses, trucks, even airplanes are being electrified based on a distributed, modular, and customizable electric vehicle charging platform. We're advancing in ways like we're creating movable electric vehicle chargers. These are following, out in the field, following electric race cars as they move from racetrack to racetrack across America. And we also have modular systems. So you have a single power module that blows out for whatever reason. You can pull that one out and replace it with virtually no downtime seen by the end customer. These are just some of the advancements that unnamed company is working on. And going back to the charged install base. So this is a map. This is a map of ChemPower chargers globally. And so we were founded in Finland. We were founded in Europe around 10 years ago. And you see there's a pretty dense install base, right, in Europe. And then look at the American map. A little scarce, I'd say, but what if I told you we started in America 3 years ago? So what I see here is a crystal ball, a future for American EV charging. The technology's ready, the vehicles are getting there, and we just need to put these in the ground, and we'll see an electrified transportation revolution. If that doesn't have you convinced, I want to share that there's, if you switch to an EV, if we've got any tree-hugging data nerds here, I bet there's one or two out there. That's the equivalent of saving 5.2 metric tons of carbon dioxide. So this is equivalent to 6 transatlantic flights, adopting a vegetarian diet for 13 years, or growing 86 trees for 10 years. Think about it. So next time you're trying to buy a car, think your car is not actually a car. Your car can be recharged at your own home. It's going to be a companion to you, taking you from point A to point B, and it's going to create lifelong memories for years to come. Your car is not a car. Your car is a phone. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. Thank you. That was great. That was really great, Meredith. Thank you. I might actually consider buying an electric vehicle now. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, get your questions ready. I see one hand already. I'm going to start. What is a misconception that people have about EV charging?
Thank you for that one. I have the microphone, so you all have to listen to me. My one misconception about electric vehicle charging, people tell me, Meredith, do DC fast chargers damage the lifetime of your EV battery? My answer to that is no. Everyone say it with me. No. Thank you. The reason why is because typically there's a correlation between high charging speeds, which generates more heat. Heat can damage batteries and that battery chemistry. However, our very good friends in the electric vehicle industry have created advanced battery management systems so that the car will protect itself if it's getting too hot. It'll derate that charging, and it will charge slower, but we're talking to each other, and we want to make sure that battery is safe, and so that's going to live a nice, long lifetime and charged as fast as possible.
Very interesting. Thank you. Question over there.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. So thank you for all that. It's awesome stuff. And clearly where everything is moving is towards electronic vehicles and so on. And you mentioned the green benefits. I think there's a lot of controversy there. When you calculate those, do you consider the cost of the manufacture of those batteries? Because, you know, there is some dirty parts to that. And then the fact that those batteries have to be changed out at some point. I think what we all want as consumers is just the honest truth. You know, we just want to know, you know, all want to do right by the environment, for sure. But I think where we struggle is getting the truth and including, you know, the cost of those batteries and what those do to the environment as well.
Absolutely, yes. And so when you look into the life cycle of analysis of a car, right, it depends on the system boundary that you draw. You could look at just the emissions of a vehicle, or you can account for the manufacturing, or maybe all the manufacturing to the manufacturing, right? So you have to draw the system boundary somewhere. But while it is true that manufacturing an electric vehicle does emit more carbon dioxide or equivalents based on those rare earth metals and lithium production, when you scale that out to the entire life cycle of a vehicle, 10, 15 years of carbon reduced or zero carbon emissions from the tailpipe. Now, it does depend on how you get that electricity, so that varies by state and your region too. That's sometimes out of our control, but even in your most coal-intensive pollutive states, like your Kentuckys or places that rely on heavy coal usage, you're still getting longer-term benefits based on a mixed grid, based on your average American when you do switch to an electric vehicle. So that's where your advantages come from there, and you just have to look at the entire life cycle of the vehicle. And was there a second part to your question there as well? We're at time. Sorry, only one part. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, Meredith. You should be a comedian as well. Yeah. All right, so far tonight we have explored technology and innovation. Next, we're going to examine another important piece of the energy landscape, affordability. So our next speaker is Nick Montoni. He is a senior program director for policy and markets at the North Carolina Clean Energy Technology Center, where they focus on clean energy, policy, and resilience innovations. Please welcome Dr. Nick Montoni.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So I'm here to talk about the 50 States of Energy Affordability, which is a new report that we at the North Carolina Clean Energy Technology Center have just put out a couple of months ago, with a quarterly update on the way next month. Very quickly, a little bit about the Clean Tech Center. We are a public service center at North Carolina State University. We do clean energy policy research across all 50 states in a wide variety of areas, from distributed generation to electric vehicles to grid modernization and power decarbonization. We are most well known for the database of state incentives for renewables and efficiency, which is a mouthful, so we just call it DESIRE, because we all desire to get rebates and incentives for our renewable energy installations. It's a publicly available database where you can see what incentives are available to you in every state. Similarly, based off of this, we have a series of reports on the topics I mentioned before: solar, grid modernization, electric vehicles, and power decarbonization through our Desire Insight series. But our newest report is on energy affordability. So we have it's a completely free report, maps, and data sheet on affordability actions that have occurred all across the country. Basically, what are state legislatures, regulatory commissions, governors, and utilities doing to try to bring down the costs of electricity? The real challenge here is defining energy affordability and defining the scope of this investigation. So what we decided to do was think about two bifurcated stories. One, how do utilities control costs, or how do regulators and legislatures control utility costs? And we decided to explore the utility business model, planning and procurement, and oversight and cost recovery. So utility business model, that's things like performance-based rate making or performance incentive mechanisms, where a regulator tells a utility, hey, if you meet certain benchmarks, you'll make a certain amount of money, and you don't get to make that money if you don't meet those benchmarks. Planning and procurement, that's things that make utility spending, that's things that make it easier for utilities to build, lower their capital costs, or make it so that they don't have to build as much. And then there's oversight and cost recovery. That's like audits, monitoring, tracking, and consumer protections. We also wanted to think about the customer side of things, customer bill management. So how do we actually reduce costs on the customer side? That's things like customer cost allocation. That's like programs where we take customer costs and shift them across customer classes or shift them to other entities entirely. So that might be like bill credits, certain kinds of incentives, and programs like that. The other one we looked at was customer cost reduction, or what we also call customer cost saving programs. This is something where a utility or the government goes to customers, especially low and moderate income customers, and says, here is a thing, here's a tool or a technology or a thing you can install in your home that will reduce costs for you, like rooftop solar or a battery or energy efficient appliances. So it's not, even though it is a matter of cost allocation, we call it a customer cost saving program because it very specifically goes to the customer to bring down their bill. Excuse me. So here are just a few examples of the kinds of categories we consider across all of these things. I already mentioned a few of them. And so to get into the results, and I'm looking back at these slides and I'm realizing a map would have been great, but here we go. We found 342 actions across 46 states, plus the District of Columbia, plus Puerto Rico. And this is the breakdown of how those actions factored into our categories. And the thing that we found that were the most common, besides, and I'm going to say large load tariffs, and then I'm going to move on. Besides large load tariffs, the things that were the most common were bill assistance programs, low and moderate income incentive programs, performance incentive mechanisms, and disconnection policies. So policies that either prevent disconnections or help customers pay off bills when they're at risk of being disconnected. So just to give a few quick examples, I don't really want to read this off. So we're gonna skip through, and you can ask me about examples. But I think what's really interesting is that, again, 342 actions across 46 states that really cover run the gamut of all of these things. We saw activity in South Carolina on utility return on equity. We saw the Oregon looking at grid enhancing technologies. We saw Kansas looking at ways to give customers more power when petitioning their utility. We also saw reports on recommendations about protection from shutoffs and automatic enrollment in home energy assistance programs. So as you can see, there's a lot going on. We've got an update coming next month. I hope you'll stay tuned. Reach out to me or look us up. DesireInsight.com/publications is where you can download the report for free.
Thank you, Nick.
That's after the Paris Marathon.
Very cool. Thank you so much. Good reminder that it's not all about how we produce it, but how people can afford it, right? Question, get your question ready. I'll come to you first after I ask my question. Were there any states that surprised you with their approach to energy affordability?
There were a lot of really interesting approaches. I think a few that I mentioned already. I think this Kansas thing with the consumer petitions is really interesting. Another one that I found really notable is, or another trend that's really notable is in, I think, Maryland, Vermont, and Massachusetts, the governors are all rolling back energy efficiency programs in order to provide like a short-term relief on customer bills because those programs are funded on the bills. But in Michigan, the Public Service Commission said, actually, we're going to increase the customer charge for energy efficiency programs because we can actually serve something like 90,000 households. We can raise $90 million and serve something like 90,000 households, 90,000 low and moderate income households with energy efficiency programs. So I think it's just really interesting. Everyone's taking different short-term and long-term approaches to this question.
Thank you. Where does North Carolina fall on the range of affordability, and what state is the most affordable?
That's a very hard question to answer because what's the most affordable is really a matter of where you get your energy from, who else is using it, how much you use, energy efficiency metrics. I think the most affordable energy in the country is actually out in the Midwest and the mountains where they have actually abundant onshore wind, by the way, and abundant other resources. North Carolina is actually kind of in the middle. It's tracking to the national average of prices. When it comes to affordability policy, North Carolina actually had some of the most actions. So the Utilities Commission and the legislature and actually the utility itself are all taking actions that may have a net benefit to your electricity bill.
Go ahead with the next question.
Hey there. Over here.
Hi.
I'd like you to comment on the fact that some of these utility companies are publicly traded on the stock market. So when we talk about affordability to the customer, it's kind of in conflict with the primary goal of a company that is publicly traded to be profit-driven. Can you speak on that?
I can. So I will actually just refer us back to some of these utility business model actions. There are, I think, multiple states across the country. I think I'm seeing this in much of the Northeast, in Michigan, in California, where legislatures in particular are thinking about returns on equity and utility profit making, and they are actually trying to encode into the law how much money utilities are able to make, how they are able to spend that money, and what any excess profits can go to. That's sometimes done through something called like an earnings sharing mechanism or something like that. It's an excellent question, and lawmakers are actively considering it.
All right, thank you so much, Nick.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, we are at our final speaker of the night. The speaker is going to take a look at a topic that's receiving increasing attention across North Carolina and the country. Will Doran is the state government reporter for WRAL News, covering North Carolina politics and state government. Before joining WRAL in 2023, he reported for the Sanford Herald and the News and Observer. Please welcome Will Doran.
Thank you, Kenya, and I know that I am the person standing in the way of y'all and the bar, so I will not be long-winded, I promise, but I hope that you still do have some good questions for me. I am here to talk about data centers, because when you talk about energy, especially in the year 2026, you can't talk about that without talking about data centers. So my job is primarily working at the state legislature, covering state policy, but I've covered local government policy as well, and both of those play into how we do data centers. You've already heard my bio, so I'll just skip through this. One point I want to make, I am not the only reporter at WRAL. We have a lot of reporters covering data centers specifically. We're the biggest TV news station in the state, and data centers are a huge story right now. Almost every single county that you see has stories about data centers. And some of these are stories that I've written, some of these are stories that other people have written, but you get the idea. It's something we're paying a lot of attention to, and I think probably a lot of y'all in this room are paying a lot of attention to as well. Now here's an interesting stat. 20% of North Carolinians say that they would support a data center being built in their community. That was a poll taken this month by Elon University. And about half of people say they would directly oppose one. About another quarter or so, 27%, you can see that, are unsure. One thing that I thought was interesting, and there's a little bit of a breakdown on political lines, on racial lines, but there's really also a huge age breakdown. I've circled it here. People under 30, still not a majority, say that they would support a data center being built in their community, but way, way more support among younger people than among older people, and among men and women too. I mean, it's over double, nearly triple the support when you compare men and women. So, just people who are, perhaps in that field or just kind of interested in how the politics of this go. Because, politicians look at polling like this when they decide how they're going to make their decisions. And, they say, okay, well, who votes? Well, it's largely, older people who vote. And older people, as we can see, tend to be much more opposed to these, especially in their own communities. So, what have we heard from the politicians on this? Here's Governor Stein. We were interviewing him a few months ago when I took this photo. He said, AI will be part of our future, and we want to keep innovation central to the state's economic development strategy, but we cannot be blind to the impact these data centers are having on our state. They need to pay their way so that our residentials don't have to bear the cost. So what he did, he has a whole bipartisan committee that he's put together on energy policy in the state. Got some Democratic lawmakers, Republican lawmakers, people from the industry, people from the environmental backgrounds. And so he suggested, okay, we have some tax breaks that data centers get for the electricity that they buy, for the equipment that they buy when they are actually building a data center. He suggested, let's get rid of those tax breaks. We don't need those anymore, let's get rid of them. Now, he can't do that on his own, he needs the legislature to help. Here's House Speaker Destin Hall. He is one of the two people in charge of the legislature, along with Senator Phil Berger. And guess what? They took up Stein's suggestion on cutting one of those tax breaks on the electricity that data centers buy, but they didn't take his suggestion on the other one for the equipment. And interestingly, the House wanted to do a lot more because right now the state has very few regulations specifically on data centers. The House had a bill that would have put in new rules for, okay, when one of these is coming into your community, you know, the city council or county commissioners has to look at the noise pollution in nearby properties. They have to institute new cooling technology. They have to, you know, make sure that they're not increasing people's electrical rates. That passed the House, but the Senate killed it. And so that's definitely a topic when we come back in 2027 for the next long session. I think we're going to see a lot more discussion around. Number one rule in politics, it's all local, but big donations also don't hurt. Now, when the House had this bill that ultimately got killed by the Senate, there were a lot of data center lobbyists in Raleigh for this. All the big tech companies did not like this bill, wanted it to be killed. But also, when lawmakers are considering what they're going to do or not do, they do what their voters tell them to do. So, you know, if this is an issue that y'all are passionate about, whether it's pro or con or somewhere in the middle, reach out to them. You can email them, you can call them, all the information is public, and, you know, they actually do read those emails. But the other part about politics being local is that this right now is really a local issue. We are seeing cities and counties all across the state passing moratoriums or asking data centers to come to their communities. And this is a map we made in May, but even since then, Durham has moved to the red, Harnett County's moved to the red. There's a whole lot of areas that are really kind of moving against data centers. So that is the contents of my presentation. I'd love to hear your questions.
Thank you, Will. I was going to ask, show of hands, how many people have a question, because I don't think I need to ask one on data centers. So we've got 2 over here already.
Oh, hi, very intriguing. So bear with me, it might be a long question. But, so we heard that there's efforts from another speaker to create new ways to essentially power our cities, right? There are ways to power people transiting in different places. There are new ways to gather energy, and there are new ways to try and make it more affordable. All of that is great, right? So what we're talking about is, in many ways, to electrify our cities. That would be essentially, at its core, the same debate about creating data centers and sustaining them, because to create energy, you need energy, and you need to cool it. So how do you think being parallels between the push to electrify and make our cities more, call it, ecologically minded, versus the push against or in favor of data centers?
That is a great question. Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, a data center on its own can use as much electricity as a medium-sized city, we know. So this is definitely something that people are considering. And what we've seen really so far in North Carolina, where the data centers are getting built, is more in the rural areas. I live in Apex, and there was a big controversy there. They were going to build a data center out there, and the town council decided to kill it. And what you're really seeing is in a lot of, you know, I had that map up, the whole triangle area really has moratoriums on it, but it's in kind of the outlying areas where they are going after these, where there's not as much development. Some of those rural counties are actually shrinking in North Carolina. And so, you know, they look at, you know, one, they have more available land, but also more available electricity. And they just, they want the property taxes as well. So that's kind of the divide that you're seeing in that right now.
Next question.
Hi. Yeah, well, great presentation. Question in regards to the moratoriums. There's a study period of time. Do you think it's adequate time for them to come up with an idea to review this in the given months that they put these moratoriums out? And how do you think it should deal with what's called edge development? So one county might have a moratorium, another one doesn't, but it houses itself right on the border. So there's going to be an overall effect with that too. Thank you.
Well, the classic line from reporters is, I don't have an opinion on how things should be. I just tell people what's going on. But no, I mean, that's absolutely an issue. And in a lot of places in the state, there are, multi-county planning boards that kind of work together. And so they would be considering those things of, Lee County is going to have a data center. It's going to be right on the border of Chatham County, which has a moratorium. How do we deal with that? Well, the Lee County people and the Chatham County people know each other. They talk. They'd be able to work that through. I don't know if that's a full answer to your question, but that's just one example.
Next question. I think the mic's
Hey, Will,
over there.
thanks for doing this. For the record, I'm not anti-AI. I wrote 2 books on AI, so I kind of love it. But I don't understand the argument of these data centers should get reduced prices. Like, it seems like that would be on the backs of the consumer, of your neighbor, of the low-income person. These data centers don't really produce that many jobs. Very few, actually. Like, I could see giving a power credit to a factory that employed hundreds or thousands of people because there's a net benefit to the community. What is the argument from the data center people of why they should get a reduced rate?
There's a couple different parts to that, because that's a really good question. So, I mentioned the tax breaks that they get for electricity, which no longer exists because the new state budget killed it. But for the equipment, those all were passed 20 years ago when, data centers were a new issue and not really the arms race that we're seeing right now. But there's also taxpayer-funded incentives for these. And actually, I mentioned the big bill that the House passed, the Senate killed. That would have actually banned local governments from paying incentives to data centers. So it sounds like they probably agree with you on that, if that bill were to pass eventually. But, they contribute a ton to the property tax base. You look at Richmond County, which is getting, I think, a $10 billion data center from, I believe it's Amazon. I mean, they're about to have the nicest schools in the entire state. They can cut property taxes if they want. So even if they're not creating jobs, there are still economic benefits to having a $10 billion piece of property that the county could tax.
All right, thank you, Will. We are at time. I know there are probably many other questions, but you'll stick around, right? All right, put your hands together again for all of our speakers tonight. So I want to thank you all for being here, for being part of this conversation. If you are new to Frontier RTP, welcome. This is just one of the many programs and events or, get-togethers that are had here on this campus. Right next door is Boxyard RTP, where food, music, great place to hang out. There's a dog park right next to it, so if you've got a dog, bring your dog. Visit boxyard.rtp.org for more information. And together, Frontier and Boxyard make RTP Hub. We are a growing downtown district in the heart of the park, built for living, working, and for connecting. Another big thank you to our presenting sponsor, RTI International. And then, of course, our PBS North Carolina folks in the back. Thank you so much for recording tonight's event. Be sure to check out the recording and past RTP 180 talks on YouTube. Our next RTP 180 is all about dual-use defense technologies. You see those red and yellow thingies? What are those called? Glow sticks. Well, they weren't used as glow sticks all the time. They were used in the military. And so this talk is going to be about innovations that were developed for military use but crossed over into civilian applications. This is going to be on November 19th. So registration will open October 19th. Mark your calendars or sign up for a reminder. The QR code on the screen will take you there. Thank you again so much for being with us tonight, and we really hope you enjoyed the conversation.